Hey guys, it's Sean, and we are living in the golden age of comic book and superhero movies. 2018 was massive, but believe it or not, 2019 is going to be even bigger. So what we wanted to do was pull 10 characters from upcoming Marvel and DC movies that are absolutely going to steal the show in 2019. So Warner Brothers and DC ended 2018 on a high note with James Wan's Aquaman, and we're already looking ahead to Shazam, which is going to steal the show in April of 2019. And the reason why we're excited is because we think that Shazam is going to continue the tonal shift at DC into the more upbeat and comedic. And why that works for Shazam is because he's really a teenage boy in an adult superhero body. Think big, but with capes and costumes.
Sup, I'm a superhero.
The future of Marvel is probably going to take place in outer space, so it makes sense that we're introducing Captain Marvel, who is part Kree and part human. Brie Larson is finally going to bring this character to the big screen, a huge step in the right direction for Marvel, and we think this character, after her origin story in March, is going to play a major factor in what happens in Endgame in April. Let's talk about Todd Phillips' take on the Joker. We really don't know anything about this film. We think it's an origin story, but the Joker is a character who doesn't really have a true origin. It doesn't have a traditional Batman. It doesn't really connect to the DCEU, but all of those factors make me more excited for the freedom that Todd Phillips has to just tell a really strange Joker story and lean on Joaquin Phoenix's interpretation. It comes out in October. In the summer of 2019, Jake Gyllenhaal is going to play Mysterio in Spider-Man Far From Home. And the big twist on that is instead of being a classic villain like he is in the comic books, he'll be an ally of Spider-Man, hired by Nick Fury to help the web-slinger solve some crimes in Europe. That's a great enough twist to get me involved in this story, but of course the casting of Jake Gyllenhaal and giving the character his signature fishbowl helmet, totally sold. The X-Men are coming back to the big screen after a 3-year absence, and they're going to be telling the Dark Phoenix story once again, which you can't do without leaning on Jean Grey. I'm excited because Jean has kind of been underserved in the X-Men films, especially in this new reboot, and it's time to give Sophie Turner a chance to explore what this character is all about. Also, director Simon Kinberg is a huge fan of the Dark Phoenix storyline, so I think he's going to really be able to focus on how Jean's transformation affects not just her, but the entire mutant team. It may sound silly to say that a character like Iron Man is going to steal the show in 2019, but we know that he's going to be very, very important to whatever Endgame does to bring closure to this long arc of stories that are being told in the MCU. It all started with Tony in the first Iron Man, and it's going to have to end with him somehow as all of the surviving Avengers bring the fight to Thanos in Avengers Endgame. So while he might not exactly steal the show, I do believe that whatever happens with Tony in Endgame is going to be a storyline that we talk about for years to come as Marvel fans. For a lot of the same reasons, I'm going to bring in Captain America as our next choice. Again, kind of silly, he's been part of the MCU forever, he steals almost every movie that he's in, but I just think that as the MCU builds to some sort of closure with Avengers Endgame, it's really going to figure out significant and emotional ways to give send-offs for both Iron Man and Captain America. I have to put Freddie Freeman on this list, and you might be asking yourself, who is Freddie Freeman? But I think by the time you see Shazam, you'll know exactly who he is. He's the superhero's sidekick character. He's the comic relief, he's a sarcastic partner who helps Billy Batson figure out what his role is as a superhero. What I like about the way that Shazam is positioning this new take on Freddie Freeman is that this boy is super interested in everything that's happened in the DCEU leading up to this point. We see he collects bat signals, he's got clippings about Superman, and he's just funny. So I think he's going to be a standout character for Shazam and somebody who we want to see more of in sequels. 2019 is going to be the year of Nick Fury, which is a funny thing to say because he's been a character that's been part of the MCU since the very first days. He's almost the glue that holds all of this together, and he's certainly going to connect the 3 films that come to theaters in 2019. First, he's going to play a major part in Captain Marvel, which is a prequel story, so we'll see a younger Nick Fury as the person who meets Brie Larson when she lands on planet Earth. We assume that Nick Fury is going to play a major role in Avengers Endgame, only because that movie is expected to use everybody in the MCU. What you might not know is that Nick Fury is also a major player in Spider-Man Far From Home, as he's going to be in Europe with Agent Maria Hill, and they'll be the ones who are recruiting Spider-Man to go on these adventures through Europe. So if you're Sam Jackson, you're a pretty busy guy. Our final entry on this list goes to Jude Law and whoever he's playing in the new film Captain Marvel. There have been a lot of rumors that he could be Yon-Rogg, who is a Kree military general who has some ties to Brie Larson's character. He could also be playing Mar-Vell, who was an earlier version of the Captain Marvel superhero who might pass the baton to Brie Larson. I think it's really exciting that we're close to Captain Marvel reaching theaters and we still have no idea who Jude Law is playing, but I'm pretty sure that once it's revealed his true identity, that person is going to steal the show. As you can tell, there are a lot of superhero movies coming to theaters in 2019, and these are the performances that we think are going to stand out from those blockbusters. Who did we miss? Be sure to tell us in the comment section below. And for more superhero news, subscribe to CinemaBlend.